I'd like to call the Hawaiʻi Board on Geographic Names to order on this date, April 27th. We can begin with roll call. I'll start. Marcus Marzan, representing Bishop Museum.
Ryan Morales, Land Survey Division, DAG.
Arthur Buto, Office of Planning Sustainable Development.
Holly McEldowney, Department of Land and Natural Resources.
All right. Thank you all for your attendance. And so I guess we can continue with the agenda at this time. And next on the agenda is reviewing of and approval of the minutes of February 13th. And thank you again, always, Arthur, for compiling and doing such a great job at the minutes that you produce for us. And people had a chance to review the minutes, and if so, can I get a motion to approve?
I move that we approved February, what's the date on this meeting?
February 13th.
February 13th, 2026 meeting minutes.
All right, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Ryan, second by Holly. Any edits or addition comments to the minutes as written? Hearing none. Any opposed? Motion carried. Right. Thank you. Next on the agenda, public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time?
I didn't receive any. I see Hai Lama I'm gonna promote Hai Lama to a panelist.
Okay.
Join us in a minute. Morning, Hai Lama. I apologize for the confusion with the invitation. Marcus and I will try and work it out after this meeting.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I appreciate that. I was just following the instructions that were given not to use the link that was in the agenda. And so I did try to come on at 9:45 as you asked us to, but it's been half hour since, so thank you.
Again, I apologize.
Do we have a quorum?
We do, yes. Okay. So we completed roll call and finished the approval of the minutes of February 13th. Yeah. Okay. And so at this we're on public comments, but Arthur mentioned that we don't have anything at this time. Any announcements?
Nothing from me.
Yeah. Any other board members have anything that they might have to share at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we can move on to the next on the agenda. Follow up on the renaming of Sand Island Oʻahu to Mauliola. Do we have any further movement on that process?
So one item was the name change form, and I worked with Shelley. Shelley helped me figure out how to fill out the USBGN name proposal form, which is attached to your board packet. I'm not sure if on this version of the PDF you can actually scroll down to look at the full responses to some of these multi-line responses. Otherwise, I think you can do that on the HBGN website, the individual agenda item with the name change form on there. I think you'll be able to look at it there, if not here. On the printed version that Holly and I are looking at, we can't see the full response. But before I send this to USBGN, I just wanted to have you guys look at it and make sure it looks okay to you. And if you wanted to add anything to any of the responses, or you see any problem with any of the responses. First of all, are you able to see the full response on those multi-line answers?
Not the full, no. Only online. Is that what you're asking, online, or the one that you hard printed? I'm like yours.
Online with the PDF itself.
No, I cannot open now. I mean, I can guess because it's 2 lines and half of the second line is.
Yeah. Arthur, is this the only process we need to complete for this, or are there other things with that we have to do within the state?
Yeah, 2 other things. One was I didn't know, and I attached it to the meeting packet as well. If we wanted to draft a letter to Radian Cordero, the council member that introduced the original proposal at the city council. And also in that reso, I think they sent copies of the reso to HBGN and also the Oʻahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association. We wanted to send something out to them just to let them know that the board did approve the name change.
Yeah. Okay. I see
that our board, the HBGN, approved the name change, and then we're forwarding it up to the USBGN for its consideration.
Okay.
I see. And then also, there was a question about if the land board needs to be involved. So I'll let, or state parks.
Yeah, we have some concerns about it because we have a major part of the name changes for the entire island, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a major part of that island. So I think internally they wanted to discuss it more. I know we're doing a master plan. It might take, master plans always take a couple of years or whatever. But we did want to make sure more individuals in the community were involved in this. But
Holly, sure. Sorry, Mr. Chair, may I ask yes. Holly? So Holly, when the agenda came out that we would be discussing it last month as the representative for DLNR, were you able to review it and share that with them so that even though you weren't here last,
I wasn't here. Yeah.
Where you could have sent a message to
Yeah, good.
Arthur or Harley that, can you hold on making a decision because we need more time to discuss this, because we've already adopted it unanimously for those who are present, and so our process, we're now moving it forward. So my concern is it might look like DLNR will then now put some efforts to stop this from moving forward, and our board here has already approved it to move forward. And one might say, but DLNR, you had a representative on the board, and because there's sunshine law, that representative would have received it, and wouldn't that representative have offered some concern prior to the meeting, even if she wasn't there? So I'm just lifting that up because I don't think we have anything to do now that we've already approved it and we're now processing it. Technically, we could do a motion to rescind that decision, but I would recommend against it because the engine is moving. And
yeah, I'm not in favor of stopping it,
okay,
but I'll go back and see. Like we can have alternative names, or what was it called for the?
Yeah, so one of the board, the Hawaiʻi Board, adopted a concept that's a little bit different than the US HBGN of having an alternate name, similar to a variant name, but that carries more weight, I guess, than an alternate name and an approved name have the same, are equivalent. So that, might be an option if there's some issues at state parks about adopting signage. Well, I think you said they were sort of supportive of.
Oh yeah, the state parks is very supportive of using Hawaiian names wherever possible, or when people are sure that that's a name that would apply appropriately to the place or has been. So we're not opposed to that at all. It's just the names, Sand Island is so prevalent and has been used for so many years that we wouldn't want to just, people are going to get confused if we suddenly change the name. So.
No, I understand. I thought your concern was that you folks were considering other names rather than this. So your concern, at least for the immediate future, is that it be duly listed.
Yeah, the name Sand Island is still used in some context until maybe people become more used to the Hawaiian name. But
yeah, and I don't. So I agree with you. I don't think that stops the process of the name change. But if it's duly listed with its gentrified name, I mean, I could stomach that for a few years until people will tend to learn the proper name. And I was convinced by the testimony that was presented and other documents that was the best name to use. So, we can't help that other folks decided to name places. Ford Island is another example, and remove the proper name. Diamond Head is another, but I don't know if the legality of that. But I agree. I don't have a problem personally with duly listing the names. My preference, if we had to do that for signage, is that would say Mauliola and in parentheses Sand Island or something like that. Until and do it at a time certain. I mean, Arthur knows I like the time certain thing. I did that last month because then you have the opportunity for that place to learn its name or relearn its name. And I know there were some intricacies of how that name was a little, there are different parts and different thoughts, but I fully supported our decision. So I don't have stomachache over or heartache over a duly listed name, but I don't want to create tricycle wheels on this bike and have it stay on forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we're fortunate that, we made that decision to have that category of alternate name, which kind of um puts the official name kind of on par to its alternate name in that capacity versus that doesn't exist on the uh federal level. Um and so I think moving forward, like we've always been advocates, right, of restoring the traditional name to places. So this is very consistent with all of our other initiatives and actions that we've done in the past. And so, but we have that ability to list Sand Island as an alternate name for Hawaii too. Yeah, so it has that dual weight that both names can be identified in that way. But I really support Hailama's suggestion of having both names be present, but there's a time of that transition, right? When people are made aware of the name and still given the opportunity to identify it in the name in the way that it's been known for many, many years. But there is that transition when one generation will only know it by another name, because that's how it's being kind of presented to the community. So I think, yeah, definitely finding a way to balance those conversations is a really good way to educate our community, on place, on history and story, but also kind of finding ways to be, honor exactly what we've been so um, uh, arduously trying to do with all of the other place names across the islands that we've been trying to balance out. So, yeah, thank you all for that. Okay, so I guess we have to draft anything, Arthur, or
Or
for like to the council, not the council, no council member who or any of those
yeah,
things?
the meeting packet I have, in the meeting packet, I have sort of a draft. And
Okay,
it's really just a very rough draft.
yeah,
So if you could take a look at that.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, before you move on to that, any suggestions for the name change form? And I apologize, Shelley, I saw your hand was up long after you initially raised it. Did you want to? I can unmute you, I think. Oh, you're already unmuted. If you want to ask your
Yeah,
question or make a comment.
thank you, Arthur. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. It's a good conversation. And just to comment on that conversation, I similar to what Hailama was outlining with respect to using Mauliola with Sand Island in parentheses, that will be a similar approach to how the federal products will be displaying the information. So we can have Sand Island in parentheses after Mauliola on maps. Getting back to the form itself, Arthur, I know we talked about land ownership with respect to Hawaii, and additional guidance that I have to offer is just to include the state landowners in those boxes, those relevant boxes, and we will handle the federal landowners. So no need to worry about folks like National Park Service, BLM, et cetera. We'll take care of outlining them and doing contacts and so forth. That was all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Shelley. Again, I appreciate your help with this. Sand Island, I looked on that map viewer. I didn't see any federal owners on there. And I know there's a Coast Guard installation there.
I think it's all owned by the state.
Oh, so they're
And
on
state parks is only a portion of that,
Yeah.
so.
In the case of Sand Island, it's just state of Hawaii, but So for the board members' information, I wanted you to look at this because I filled out a similar form for Island of Hawaii or for Hawaii. Because I didn't put it on the agenda, I didn't want to include it in the meeting packet, but I filled out a similar form in a similar way for Hawaii, which does have some federal landowners. So that's what Shelley was referring to, that there are, we were looking at a reference resource that identified land ownership, government land ownership on there. And so we were trying to pick out, she was trying to pick out which federal agencies were involved. But as she says, they'll take care of that. So, but again, I do want you to look at the form to make sure that or to see if you have any questions. For some of the responses, some of these multi-line responses, I either copied and pasted from some of the testimony or some of what occurred at our meeting, at our last meeting, or I tried to summarize what was there. So, and I did the same thing with the Hawaii form. So again, if you could take a look at this, if you're okay with this, I'll go ahead and submit this, and maybe at our next meeting, I'll provide the Hawaii form for you to look at.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Arthur, for that. Is there a link to this form that we can access online versus not just embedded in the packet?
Yeah, if you go to the HBGN meeting materials
site,
okay,
through that and just click on it through there.
PDF individually, yeah, separately. So with that, I did look, and you can view the multi-line things on that form.
Okay. So I guess we'll just each review it, and for those that aren't present today, we can just give them a notice to review that online prior to the next meeting, and we can move forward from there. Okay.
Then getting back to the draft that's attached, that's probably the last page. I think the last page of the binder is just that draft.
Okay. And is that roughly all we need to do, or
that's up to you? I mean, this is just sort of a courtesy.
Just a courtesy, just to inform them of our decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see it's not very form. I mean, it's just very. The board made this decision on this date.
Yeah.
These are the next steps the board's taking. So if you want to add more stuff to it,
okay,
let me know. And then I have in brackets, do we want to mention about the land board possibly reviewing this, and with the state parks thing, is that still something that would need to go to the land board?
I'll have to check. Yeah, the land board. The land board does have to approve changes of park names.
Oh, okay.
But I think they've already done something. I'll check again.
Okay.
So because that's sort of unclear right now, if it's going to actually go down that path or not, I would prefer to not.
Yeah. Yeah, we can hold off on making that official announcement until we get all parties' responses. Okay. Is there anything further that we need to discuss on this matter?
No, I think that's it. But does anybody have any suggestions, any revisions they want to see?
No. All right. Okay. Hearing none, we can move on to the last of the agenda items. Anything to add to upcoming agenda or upcoming agenda?
Yeah, so you can see this agenda is pretty light this meeting, and that's
Yes.
because I didn't really have anything lined up for this meeting. So what I would like to do is include this particular item at every meeting, so that I'm not going to struggle trying to come up with what should be on the agenda, that we already kind of know ahead of time what we want on. At least some of the items that we may want to discuss. Other things may come up in the interim through emails or somebody reaching out. But at least we would kind of know what was coming up. Like, do we want to continue reviewing lists of names at a meeting? Or are there other place names, feature names that other members have an interest in reviewing at future meetings? So that's why it's here now, and I would like to include this in future agendas, future meetings also.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just to have that on as a standing line item. Yeah,
So having said that,
I think
I'm
the
open.
addition of names, at least some review of names would be great. I know it's been kind of difficult more recently since we've been addressing some kind of larger kind of conversations on particular place names, but how do the rest of the board members feel about addressing particular names in particular areas, and if any, what would be some of those areas? Because I know we went away from just the island specific, right? But maybe areas or places that have more need for conversation or something
I
like
would be
that.
supportive if allowed that we'd always have on the agenda an open forum for discussion of names. Perhaps because of sunshine law, we would not make decisions, but at least it allows us to popcorn or bubble up some thoughts that we can then agendize for future, should we deem it be. But at least it allow for open forum for us and the community. I've been trying to, for example, address over the past years, not only recently, is the common use of the term kaka'ako makai. And then I was successful with Kamehameha schools on getting rid of kapalama makai. And Kamehameha uses kahalu'u makai. And the more that we start to use it, because we're not thinking about it, the more it gets pa'a in people's heads. So even if we popcorn it up for discussion, and then we can, if it deems right, we can agendize it for whatever reason in the future, meaning for discussion, for reference, or for decision. We could do it that way. So I think it'd be good. And we set some time, so we can say no more than 30 minutes or no more than 15 minutes. We set the time, and that at the beginning of the agenda, we might ask for those names to be brought forward, or we can ask people to bring forward the names just for talking. I mean, it is an open forum for future agendas, but anyway, yeah,
that makes sense. Arthur, does it make sense to address any of the long list of addressed names, or well, not unaddressed, but things that have a little more need for research that just continues to sit if we don't do anything with them?
No, absolutely. I think that's sort of how items come up organically. Okay. It's just through discussion.
Yeah.
But I do want to make it clear, though, that the names that we have authority over are a geographic feature. So it may not be a common usage term unless there's some geographic feature associated with it.
Mhm. Okay. Arthur, since you're probably more familiar with what is remaining for certain areas, do you have any thoughts on how on what would be your recommendations on like addressing a handful of names that are in a certain area or um,
I
in a
kind of like
consistent
what,
way?
yeah, I kind of like what, I think it was Bobby's suggestion originally, where instead of tackling the entire island of Hawaii and going through each, name alphabetically, is that we look at Ahupua'a and names that we have not made a official decision on, where it's on our list as being more research needed. Go through those sort of Ahupua'a by Ahupua'a and not stick to one island, till the island is done, but to do different islands at different meetings. So I feel like that's more digestible. We can take that in those kinds of chunks. And it feels like we're accomplishing something, if we finish an Ahupua'a.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe like Hailama's suggestion for like an open forum for different names, maybe that could be also another an item of select names for review or something that's more general in that sense. That
It could be an opportunity too for attendees, so not panelists, but attendees at the meeting to make suggestions as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think definitely that makes sense. In the open forum kind of line, but for the select items, we can have that as well, and maybe you can just if there are particular ahupua'a or thing areas that seem like there's a lot of need based off of the names that exist currently in the database. You can suggest some of those to the board members to review. Yeah.
Okay, can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything else to add for potential agenda items? Okay.
Just for the sake of historic reference, before we go, for today's meeting, and you may have addressed it before I came on, the just on the agenda item for the naming of Mauliola, it was spelled incorrectly, and I don't know if it needs a motion to change. It's just I think a non-substantive, although a name can be very substantive, but we might want to make sure that that's spelled correctly on the agenda.
I've done that before. I apologize. It's the second time I've done that.
And if there be no further business before this board, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, move in second. Any opposed? All right. Let's call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance.
Hello.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, all.
Hello.
Marcus, I'll be in touch about figuring out this invitation thing.
Will do. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.